All right, guys, welcome to week 6. We are going to review the sun salutations that we covered from last week, and then we're going to get into some standing positions. And these standing positions I like to classify them into two different positions or types of positions. We have front stance positions and side stance positions. Today we're going to be working on the front stance positions. Next week will be side stance. I like to kind of categorize them in this way because they flow better together, so that we can kind of make them feel a little bit more natural as we transition between them. We're going to do a few other ones, postures that don't necessarily fall into the category of front stance because they don't have the same foot placement, but they still are going to be with our hips facing the front end of this mat, which is where we get the name front stance. All right. Any questions that we have from last week? Just go ahead and put it in the chat, and we're going to get started. Make sure that you do have your water. We are going to get a little bit warmer again today. And then if you have a block available, your block might come in handy. Don't worry, we're not doing any more push-ups today, but we will be possibly using it as an extension if we cannot touch the ground. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start in a comfortable seated position. So if you need something underneath your pelvis to allow your hips to relax, place that underneath you. You can even use your block if you happen to have one and place it underneath your bottom to give you that extra lift. Before we do get started in our stillness, I want you actually to start to move into your stillness. So it can be more welcoming if we are moving our body to feel like, okay, now I can still myself. So if you've been sitting still for quite a while, your body is naturally going to have that tendency towards movement. So let's see if we can move towards stillness. And I just want you to rock forward and back with the pelvis and starting to notice the tendencies towards tipping forward in that 6 o'clock or anterior tilt, or towards that 12 o'clock and that posterior tilt. And just noticing where your body naturally wants to move. And we don't always want to go towards these tendencies because these become a little bit more of those ingrained habits. And we'd like to be smarter, or have our practice be smarter than our habits, if possible. All right, so neither in the position of being forward nor back. I want you to see if you can bring your pelvis fully upright, and then place your hands either resting them on your knees. We're going to do some shoulder circles, lifting up with the shoulders towards your ears, and then exhale, rolling the shoulder blades down and back. Let's do this a few more times. Inhaling up, exhale, looping down and back. Good. Inhaling up, exhale, down and back. You might feel crunchy in your shoulders like I do. Inhaling and exhaling. Last one. And down and back. And either letting the hands rest with the palms facing down or the palms facing up. We're going to go through some neck circles just before we come into our stillness. So inhale, lift the chin up towards the sky. I want you to exhale, nod the head down towards your chest. Inhale, drag the chin across towards the right shoulder. And exhale, drag the chin across towards your chest. Inhale to the left. Exhale down. Inhale to the right. Exhale down. Inhale left again. Exhale down. One more time in each direction. Inhaling. Exhale. Inhaling. And exhaling. And take a moment with your head nodded forward, and then gently lift the chin up until it's parallel. All right. So from here, I want you to just close your eyes and take this moment in stillness and start to breathe with more consciousness. Breathing into your belly, letting it rise up into your chest and low throat, and exhaling down and out. Good. Inhale, fill up with the torso, just the same way that you would fill up a glass of water from the bottom up. And exhaling, letting your shoulders drop down, your rib cage and chest, and your navel pull back in towards the body. Just continue to breathe and collect yourself. And sometimes the mind can still feel like it's scattered and moving in all different directions. And we use that pratyahara or sensory withdrawal to draw our tentacles back in towards you. Good. And taking a few more deep breaths. Our reading for today is titled The Daily Experiment. You are the laboratory, and every day is an experiment. Go and find what is new and unexpected. Joel Elk. Every time we talk to someone, there comes back to us a map of expectation as to how we should respond. We share a confusion. We're often given a direction. We share a pain. We're often given an instruction. We share a desire. We're often given a plan. And the power of these unspoken maps should not be underestimated. For the endless gravities of expectation we move in and out of govern most of our thinking and summon most of our energy in denying them or complying with them. In actuality, underneath all the plans, pressures, and expectations, underneath all the subtle guidance and nudging we receive from almost everyone, the next step is truly unknown and has never been taken by anyone. Thus, our spiritual charge is to maintain the wonder of the singular explorer that each of us is. Though I treasure that wonder, I have been obedient for most of my life, doing what was expected of me and more, in hopes of being loved. And I have been rebellious, doing the opposite of whatever was mildly implied, ready to break any hold another might have on me. But the freshest step has always come when I've been brave enough to land at the end of what little I know, breathing new air, feeling new feelings, in reaction to no one, in wonder at what is always possible. Take another full breath in wherever you are. And a deep breath out. Flutter your eyes and prepare yourself for this daily experiment. I want you to inhale and sweep the arms out wide and reach all the way up towards the sky. Interlace your fingers and flex the palms, reaching up through the heels of the hands. Big stretch up. Maybe even pulling your head between your arms, giving a bigger stretch to the shoulders. Good. Exhale, release the arms wide and back down. And we're going to do that one more time. Inhale, lifting up. Good. Flex through the palms, reaching up. Maybe this induces a yawn for you. Good. Keep reaching. And exhale, release the arms back down by your side. Good. Let's climb up onto all fours into a tabletop position, and we'll work through some cat-cows. So you can roll over your ankles or swing the feet off to one side. Bring the hands directly underneath your shoulders, spreading out through the fingers, and the knees directly underneath your pelvis. Good. Take a peek between your knees. Make sure your feet disappear behind your knees. And then let's go through some cat-cows. Inhale, send the heart forward as you lift the tail and crown up. Shoulder blades hinge back. Exhale, round the spine into your cat. Pull the navel in, arch the back. Really feel that big stretch in the low back. Inhale, find the back bend, especially in the upper back. So it's really easy to do so in the low back. See if you can find it in your rib cage. Good. Exhale, round the spine into your cat. Pull the navel in, pressing up from your abdomen. Inhale, open up, cow. And exhale, round the spine into your cat. Inhale, open up, cow. And exhale, round the spine, cat. Good. Inhale, open up. One more time in each direction. And exhale, round the spine, finding your way into your cat. Good. Inhale to a neutral spine. And I want you to take your right foot straight back behind you, taking the toes underneath. Your foot is going to be on the mat. Okay, so with that right leg extended back, toes are down, they're curled underneath, so that when we send our hips back, we're pressing our heel towards the floor. We're going to give ourselves a big stretch into that right calf. Try to keep your right knee straight, firming the shin up towards the sky. Good. Keep your core locked in and your pelvis still facing towards the mat. So we're not in a 3 or 9 o'clock tilt of the pelvis, not lifting up higher or lower. Good. And then shift the weight forward. Float the right leg up, so you're balancing on your left knee, and then just circle out your right ankle. Circle around in the other direction. And release right knee underneath you. Switch sides. Left leg back behind you. Toes are curled under. And then send that weight back. Left heel presses towards the mat. Good. Keep your belly button lifted up towards your spine. Firming left shin towards the sky. Notice the tendency for that low back to dip down. See if you can keep that core solid. Good. And then shift that weight forward, bouncing the right knee, float the left leg up, and circle left ankle around. Go in the other direction. And then release the knee down. Sit back into your child's pose. So whichever variation works best. Hips are going to go back on top of your heels regardless, big toes touching, and the forehead makes its way towards the mat. Arms are either forward or down by your sides. Feel your breath through your back body. And feeling it expand nice and wide across the side body. And see if you can set your mentality to just observe your reactions to everything that we experience new today. And this is going to be our experiment, is how we respond. Good. Slowly walk your hands back and in towards your body until you're sitting back on top of your heels. You're going to be in this kneeling position. I'm going to slide forward because I don't have as much room behind me. You can do that too if you do not have that space. We're going to take our hands back behind. Now, if this is really uncomfortable for your ankles, you can always use your block and place it between your heels. We will not be here for a super long time. So if it still is bothering you and you don't have the block, then you can always opt out. Fingertips either facing wide to the sides or they face forward, your choice. I want you to press down into your knees and lift your pelvis up. So you're pressing down, top of the feet, kicking into the ground. Let the shoulder blades slide together and then maybe let the head fall back behind you, only if that feels okay for your neck. Good, you're gonna feel a big stretch as you squeeze your buttocks, reaching the pelvis up towards the sky, big opening. And then lower your hips back down towards your heels. Walk the hands forward, come into your tabletop position. Good, we're gonna stretch up those ankles in the other direction and go into downward facing dog. Curl the toes under and send those hips up and back. Good, in your down dog, we're gonna start to find a little bit of movement, continuing to stretch out those calves. Inhale, lift up onto your tippy toes. Exhale, bend just your right knee and dig your left heel to the floor. Good. Inhale, lift up onto your tippy toes again. And then exhale, bend your left knee, dig your right heel to the floor. The right leg is straight and presses back. Inhale, lifting up, both legs are straight, you're on tippy toes. Exhale, bend the right knee, press the left heel down, firming left shin away from you. And then inhale, lifting up. And exhale, switching sides. Good. Inhale, lifting up, and then see if you can draw both heels towards the floor. Good. Tail flips up. And then look forward between your thumbs. Walk your feet to the top edge of the mat. Bend your knees enough so your belly is touching down onto your thighs. Let your head relax, maybe shaking it yes or no. And keep that weight in your toes. One of my favorite things to do in this position is to interlace my fingers around the back of the neck. So fingertips are actually touching the skin of the neck. And then as I have my hands here, I wrap my elbows around the face and I drag my elbows towards the ground and create a little bit of space. I'm not trying to yank my head off. I'm trying to just gently add that traction so I create the space in the spine. If that doesn't feel nice for you, you can always have your hands dangling towards the ground. Good. If your hands are around your neck, release them back down towards the floor. We're going to slowly roll ourselves up through that cat pose of the spine. Round the back, keep your knees bent, pull the belly button in, start to roll yourself up slowly until your head stacks above the shoulders. Inhale at the top. Then exhale, nod the head down, round to the shoulders, soften through your knees, and then slowly let the spine fold forward in that rounded shape. Belly on thighs, tail high. Inhale at the bottom. Exhale, roll yourself all the way back up. Squeeze those inner thighs. Let the head stack. Inhale at the top. And then exhale, nod the head down, round the spine. Good. Inhale at the bottom. And exhale, roll yourself all the way up to stand. We're going to stay here, making your way into mountain pose, letting the head stack above the shoulders, and we're standing tall at the front edge of our mat. Good. Feel all four corners of your feet touch down into the ground, your calves firm apart, and your inner thighs squeeze. Draw the navel into the spine and stack shoulders over hips, head above shoulders. Good. Inhale, circle the arms out wide and reach all the way up. Upward hand salute. Exhale, fold forward, hinge from the hips, let the fingertips come down to the ground, framing the feet. Inhale, step the right foot back into lunge. Hips are down, chest lifts up, looking up, smile. Exhale, left foot steps back, downward facing dog. Hips are high and way back. Inhale, come forward into plank, shoulders over your wrists. Keep the core active here. Exhale, lower knees down, tail flips up. Dip your chest down between your thumbs, still keeping your pelvis off the floor. Good. Hips come down, tops the feet to the ground. Inhale to cobra, lift from the chest. Let the head come along for the ride. Exhale, bow and take it back, downward facing dog. That looks good, Lauren. Inhale, right foot steps forward all the way, top edge of the mat. Good. Hips down, chest lifts, inhaling. Exhale, left foot steps forward, standing forward fold. Inhale, circle the arms wide and high, lifting up with that flat back. Upward hand salute. And exhale the arms down by your sides for mountain pose. Inhale, bring the arms up. Exhale, fold in half, hinge from the hips. Inhale, left foot steps back, lunge. Good. Exhale, right foot steps back, downward facing dog. Inhale, forward into plank, shoulders over wrists. Grip with the fingertips. Exhale, knees down, tail up, chest and chin to the floor. Knees, chest, chin, elbows point straight up. Good. Inhale, cobra. Legs lengthen out, hips come down. Pull the spine forward and up, cobra. Exhale, bow and take it back, downward facing dog. Inhale, left foot steps forward, lunge. Exhale, right foot forward, standing forward fold. Inhale, reverse the swan dive, come all the way up. Exhale, the arms down by your side, mountain pose. Inhale, bring the arms up, upward hand salute. Exhale, fold in half, hinging from the pelvis, belly comes to thighs. Inhale, right foot steps back, lunge. Hips down, chest lifts, looking up. Exhale, left foot back, downward facing dog. Inhale, forward into plank. Exhale, knees, chest, chin. Inhale, cobra, heart forward. Exhale, bow and take it back, downward facing dog. Inhale, right foot forward all the way, top edge of the mat, lunge. Exhale, left foot forward, standing forward fold. Inhale, reverse the swan dive, come up. Squeeze those inner thighs to lift you. And exhale, arms come down by your side. Inhale, bring the arms up. Upward hand salute. Exhale, standing forward fold. Inhale, left foot steps back, lunge. Exhale, right foot back, downward facing dog. Inhale, forward to plank. Exhale, knees, chest, chin. Inhale, cobra, long spine, long neck. Exhale, bow and take it back, downward facing dog. Inhale, left foot forward all the way, top edge of the mat, hips down, chest lifts, look up and smile. Exhale, right foot forward, standing forward fold. Inhale, sweep the arms wide and high, lift up. Exhale, arms down by your side. Inhale, arms circle wide and up. Exhale, fold in half. Inhale, right foot back, lunge. Exhale, left foot back, downward facing dog. Inhale, forward to plank. Exhale, knees, chest, chin. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, bow and take it back, downward facing dog. Inhale, right foot forward, all the way, top edge of the mat. Exhale, left foot forward, standing forward fold. Inhale, reverse the swan dive, come up. Exhale, mountain pose. Inhale, bring the arms up. Exhale, fold forward, hinge from the hips and take it down. Inhale, left foot steps back, lunge. Exhale, right foot back, downward facing dog. Inhale, come forward into plank. Exhale, knees, chest, chin. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, bow and take it back, downward facing dog. Inhale, left foot forward, top edge of the mat. Exhale, right foot forward, standing forward fold. Inhale, reverse the swan dive, come up. And exhale to mountain pose, stay here. Pause the body and see if you can slow down the breath. Keep the legs actively working. All right. Does anybody have any questions about what we just did? I like to take a little bit of a pause here. My hands keep getting really sweaty on my mat during the practice. Is there anything I can do to help that? So if your hands get sweaty on the mat, especially in downward facing dog, Katie, grab your towel, a hand towel, and you're going to place it at the top edge of your mat. Okay, and then with the top edge of the mat, your hand's going to come directly on top of that. So it's not going to necessarily, wipe them pretty clean or dry, but what's going to do is add a little bit of that grip for you. Okay, so you're going to keep it on the mat the entire time that you're practicing those. So when you are coming through this in a quick way, okay, you place the hands here to step back, you go forward, and you stay with the hands in this position pretty much the entire time. Okay? So that should help. As you can see, it stuck to my hand. See if that helps you. Sometimes it just takes a different type of mat too. I find that towels do help out without having to purchase a brand new mat, although they do have rubber mats. Jade Harmony. Jade makes a mat that is rubber and kind of like grips onto it, but your hands smell like balloons afterwards. Any other questions about the sun salutations as we've been going through those? They can unmute yourself or post in the chat. All right, moving on then. So we are going to start covering up a few new poses. Let's go ahead and come into our mountain pose. I'm going to stand to face towards the center of the mat. Okay, but I want you to be more towards the front edge of your mat, just so that I can demonstrate and show you what we're going to be working on. So I want you to come into this with your feet about hip distance apart, your toes facing forward. We're just in our mountain pose to start. And we're going to inhale and bring our hands all the way up towards the sky. Now you can have your arms so that they're parallel. Okay, so you can see me, my hands here. With my hands parallel, you can be in this position or perhaps even interlacing your fingers. So the palms come together, you interlace your fingers and you point through your index finger. So what this looks like is something like this. And the arms go all the way up. I want the arms to squeeze in towards your head, not so much that you're trying to pinch your head off, but you're trying to keep your collarbones nice and open. All right, from here, inner thighs squeeze, calves firm apart, lift up tall. You're going to exhale and lean over to the right. This is called standing half moon pose, because we're creating this crescent moon or a half moon shape with our body. Noticing that the hips pressing over towards the left as the hands reach over towards the right. You can lift that bottom arm up towards your ear, lifting and opening up through the side body. Good, and then inhale, pull yourself all the way back up. Exhale as you lean over to the other side, stretching out through those right ribs, squeezing that bottom arm up and in towards your head. Hug those inner thighs in tightly, breathing. Good, and then inhale, pull yourself all the way back up. Exhale, release your hands down. I'm gonna turn around so you can see what this looks like. I want you to interlace your fingers. Bring the heels of the hands together so that they're closed off. All too often when we do this, when we interlace the fingers, we just leave the wrists apart. We kind of lock out with our elbows. I want you to keep the heels of the hands together. You can even keep a little bit of a bend in the elbows if you can't straighten out the arms completely. Okay? I want you to feel this in the shoulders and the pec area. So your shoulder blades roll back. All right. Now, take the knuckles towards the floor. Weight is in your toes. Hips go forward. Lift the chest up high as the knuckles go down and back. Chin to the sky. Inhale here. Exhale. Tip the weight forward into your toes. Good. And then lean the chest out in front of you. Notice how my hands are coming with me. Heels of the hands still glued. I'm going to bring the knuckles as far off of the back as possible. Eventually, they'll reach in the direction of my head. Bend your knees enough so your belly is touching onto your thighs, and see if you can get those shoulder blades to glide together onto the back. Bring your hands to your buttocks. Slide the hands all the way down the legs, giving yourself a little bit of a massage down to your heels. Inhale, lift up to a flat back. So hands slide up to the front of the legs, lifting up onto your thighs or just above the knees. Chest goes forward. Exhale, slide the hands down, folding in half again, bending the knees enough. Inhale, reverse the swan dive, come all the way up. Reach the hands to the sky. Good, back into our standing half moon, either interlacing your fingers or keeping your arms parallel. Exhale, lean over to the right. Inhale, pull yourself back up. Exhale to the left. Inhale, back up. Exhale, the hands down and back behind you. Interlace those fingers again. This time, you go into that normal crossing of the fingers, but I want you to change the crossing. So just slide the fingers one over till it feels weird or like somebody else's hand is there. Interlace those fingers, squeeze the shoulder blades back. Good, heels of the hands still touching. Inhale, the knuckles drop, chest lifts, weight is forward in your toes. Exhale, tip forward, belly to thighs, hips high, and head comes down low. Hands to your buttocks. Exhale, the hands all the way down to the back of the legs, to your heels. Inhale, lifting up to your flat back, lifting up halfway. And exhale, fold in half. Inhale, reverse the swan dive, come all the way up. And exhale, the arms down by your sides for mountain pose. All right, so if you're in a few other additional postures and just variations, we'll incorporate some of that information in later practices, but I just wanted you to know that this is our standing half moon pose, okay, and that we were doing some other variations through that nice little flow. All right, next position that we're gonna be working on is chair pose, okay? If you've practiced before, you probably have done this either with your feet apart or together. It just depends on the style that you practice. Personally, I prefer doing the Ashtanga style, which is with the toes together and the heels slightly spread, okay? So as opposed to railroad tracks, I like to be balancing on a flagpole, okay? The reason I prefer this is because I actually have my knees touching when I'm doing this practice, and that I can feel that inner thigh squeeze. So I'm reminded to keep those legs actively working instead of having my knees possibly willy-nilly. Okay, so facing towards the front edge of your mat, go ahead and do this with me. Your choice though, so you can do this with your feet about hip distance or a little bit wider apart, or you can have your big toes touching like I will. I want you to bend your knees enough so that your hands can touch down to the ground. Bending your knees and your hips, kind of feeling like you're scrunched up like a little accordion. You want your weight to be back in your heels so your toes can actually fly up off of the mat. Sink down through those hips, squeeze those inner thighs together if the knees are touching. Good, get your hips down just a little bit lower. Good, and now I want you to keep your legs where they are, upright the pelvis, and bring the arms up by your ears. Sit down and back, and start to pull that weight back into your heels. So that weight kind of feels like if you were to fall down, you'd be going down onto your bottom. Good, sit down a little bit lower. Breathe. And see if you can lower down just a bit more. Keep those legs actively working, the arms reaching up in line with your ears. Good. Another 20 minutes here. Just kidding. Good. Sink down just a little bit lower. Woo. Keep your inner ankles apart. Wonderful. All right. Come all the way up to stand and release your arms down by your sides. All right. So I'd like for you to right now unmute yourself and let me know what you were just thinking.
My legs were burning.
Just your legs?
Everything from here below.
Okay. All right. So what were you thinking?
Oh God, when is it going to end?
Okay. Anybody else feeling the same way?
Yeah, I started sweating a lot.
Yeah, right? Like you're sweating. You're like, oh my God, I'm sweating in places I didn't even know that I had pores. All right. So with the sweating, what did that do for you mentally?
Oh, it's gross.
Gross. Yeah, the sweating for Ryan for sure. All right. Anybody else? Anything like going on in your head? Did anybody drop some F-bombs in their head?
It honestly felt a bit cleansing.
Okay. All right. So you felt like you were able to kind of flush through some stuff?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Cool. Was that refreshing, or was that like, all right, I don't know, I'm getting a deep scrub and getting down and dirty?
It was a bit scalding, but afterwards it was refreshing.
All right, cool. Anybody else like thinking anything in their head? Like, no? All right. So those of you, let's see, I wish I was more flexible. Yeah, more flexible in your calves and ankles. Is that right, Genesis?
More like my legs, kind of like behind my thigh, just to
in your
get that like
hamstring.
stretch when we're like going down.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little bit of a stretch, but majority of this is actually a lot of the strength aspect of it. So you're probably feeling it mostly in your quadriceps or the front of your thighs, tops of your thighs, like a lot of burning there.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, majority of the time, you guys probably felt this like intense sensation in your quadriceps. You probably felt it in your bottom. The range of motion in my shoulders was horrible. Yeah, we'll work on that. So, but yeah, it'll definitely impede your ability to keep your arms up. And it feels like you're resisting yourself, and that own personal resistance and that lack of range of motion can feel like you're doing that much more work. You probably are, okay, because you're having to use different muscles to keep your arms up in a position that's not going to be, I guess, with a physics, mechanically sound. So yeah, you might be doing extra work there. So what I wanted to kind of highlight was that mentally and physically, we were in probably bad shape, right? I'm sure you were like, okay, I'm sweating, my heart rate is going, my thighs are on fire, my butt, my arms and shoulders, and maybe in your head, you were also reacting in that same exact way, that your thoughts were firing, that they were just going crazy, you were dropping F-bombs. When is this gonna end? How dare she say that we're gonna be in this for 20 minutes, right? Maybe you even freaked out or got scared. You're like, oh my God, is she serious? Maybe you're thinking in your head, when is this going to end? When is, how long is this going to last? Okay. What is actually happening in your head is a response, a reaction to what you're feeling physically. Okay. Now, we are going to be doing this position again for a little bit longer. Okay. The difference is that we're going to do a little experiment. We're going to try to see if we can make this a better experience for ourselves, because most likely you were suffering mentally through that posture when we were doing it the first time. You were really starting to get nervous. You were scared, maybe possibly angry, frustrated, annoyed, okay? And that you were not pleasant in that situation. It's not a pleasant pose, in any respect. And the postures are not supposed to be pleasant. In fact, none of these poses are supposed to be pleasant other than corpse pose, really. But what they're designed to do is kind of take you into your place of out of being in your comfort zone and teaching you how to be okay when you're not in your comfort zone. I have done this pose in my prenatal yoga class the 2 times I was pregnant. And we would hold the pose for a minute each time that we were doing it. And it was because to show that we were capable of doing this pose, because in labor, you are actually having contractions for a full minute. And contractions are not pleasant by any stretch of the meaning. And so when you're experiencing that intense sensation, you have to learn how to mentally cope with what you're doing or what you're feeling and experiencing, because you're going to be experiencing all kinds of things like that in life. And yoga is not going to take away any of the stress that's in your life. What yoga is going to do is teach you how to be better with coping with those stressors in your life. So let's see how we can cope better with those stressors, with those reactions, by doing our chair pose again. All right. So we're possibly going to do it a little bit longer too, just to make sure that we truly understand the point of this exercise. All right. You guys with me? I'm doing it with you. All right. Big toes together. Heels slightly apart, just so you don't feel that the knuckles or the ankle bones are going to be touching each other. I want you to bend your knees, sink your hips back, touch the fingertips towards the floor. Good. Try to keep your hips down low, just not lower than your knees. You're going to reach your arms up towards the sky. Sit your hips down and back, like you're about to sit on Santa Claus's lap and tell him exactly what you want for Christmas, because you've been a good boy or girl. All right, sit down and see if you can focus in on your breath. Slowing down the breath. And noticing that when you slow down your breath, your heart rate will most likely follow. Now, it's not going to completely slow down your heart rate to the point where it's back in a normal position as if you were resting, but it is going to help you so that you're relaxing, okay? That you're not stressing out. See if you can lower down a little bit more. Good. Keep your arms up high, shoulders down away from your ears. And then see if you can talk to yourself in through your head and noticing what is happening here is perfectly fine. It's normal. It's not anything to be afraid of, to be angry at, to be frustrated with, that I can get through this and I can do hard things. Good. Another full breath. Lower down a little bit more. Sink down and back. Good. And maybe this last point, smile. Okay, see if you can find a little bit of enjoyment in this. Just remind yourself that this too shall pass. And here it goes. Go ahead and come on out of it. Bring your arms down by your sides. Good. All right. Thumbs up. Drink some water if you need to. Anybody have any comments on that second experience? Were you able to feel a bit better, where you were suffering less mentally?
That felt a lot better. this time around. During the first time, I wasn't focusing on my breath, and that really affected me a lot. But this time, I made sure to take deep breaths in my nose and out my mouth, and what a difference that makes. It really makes a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the key to most pain management. If you're experiencing like just severe pain in your body anytime, just breathing can minimize the severity or the intensity of what it is that you're experiencing. And it's funny because like sometimes our brain will feed into the experience or the sensation that we're feeling in our body, and it'll magnify what we're feeling physically. We're like magnifying it with our brain. So we're actually thinking ourselves into something that's way worse than what it actually is. So if we just talk to ourselves and say, well, this is not that bad, then it eventually doesn't become so bad. All right, let's see. We got some chats. It burns. It burns, still burns, but mentally it felt better. I felt more powerful, mentally felt better. I did legs this morning, so I'm struggling. Good for you, Ryan. All right, we're going to continue on with our postures, but try to keep that in mind throughout all of these poses because they are going to get more challenging. They are going to get harder, but it's just to show you that you can be okay not in your comfort zone, and you can talk to yourself. And this is why we practice, is so that we can do those things that are uncomfortable in life with more poise, with more grace, and without that reactivity where we're freaking out or being overreactive. All right, let's come into our downward facing dog, please. All right, so in your downward facing dog, just give yourself a moment or two, flush out those legs, maybe pedal out your feet. And I want you to come into what we know as down dog split. So you're going to put the weight into your left foot, reach your right leg up high to the sky, lifting it up as high as you can. My husband refers to this one as that go-kart flag, keeping that leg up as high as you can. Good. We're going to exhale, sweep the right foot forward all the way to the top edge of the mat. Just like we were coming into our lunge that we do in our sun salutation. Sink your hips down low, keep your back leg straight. All right, so the left toes. So when we're coming into our front stance positions, you don't want to actually have this much distance between the legs because we're going to be rather unstable, and we want to have the back foot to be firmly rooted on the ground. So I want you to take a look at your left toes. So just look at your left toes. Hop them forward about 3 inches. Okay. Now you shortened your stance a little bit, and I want you to widen your stance a little bit. So you're going to take your left toes to the left 2 inches. Good. So now your feet are more like they're on railroad tracks as opposed to a balance beam. Spin your left heel down so that your left toes are facing a 10 o'clock position. Okay. You may need to adjust maybe the foot slightly forward a little bit. So you can get that back heel down. It's okay if you do bring that foot forward, but I prefer that you don't turn the toes to 9 o'clock because you're going to put some strain on the back knee. All right, so toes are in the 10 o'clock position. Keep your right knee bent. Inhale, sweep the arms forward and lift the arms and torso up. This is called Warrior One. Yes, I know we were just doing a lot of quadricep heavy work in our chair pose, but you're going to be okay with this because we're not going to be here too long. So I want you to see if you can turn your hips to face the front edge of your mat. This is why we call it a front stance position. Imagine that your hips have these headlights. You're going to try to shine your headlights forward. Lift up to your fingertips. Send your right shin forward. Good. And feel that big stretch in that left hip flexor. If you're feeling a pull on your left knee, I want you to turn your left toes forward a little bit more. Good. It's okay if that back heel is not down all the way either. Just helps you so that you can drive that weight forward. This one's called Warrior One. Make sure that you know that this is Warrior One and not just Warrior Pose, because there are 4 different postures that are warrior poses. Good. Bring your hands to your hips. We're going to straighten out our right leg. How we straighten out the right leg is not from the joint. Okay, so I'm not just gonna lock out the knee, all right? I wanna move from the hamstring, from the belly of the muscle. I want you to feel the squeeze as you press the leg back. Hug your inner thighs together. Imagine that you're wearing roller skates and you're trying not to do the split. Lift up, pull up to the front of the body, open up the front, and then exhale. Tip forward from the pelvis, hinging, 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 coming down with that flat back until you cannot any longer. All right, from here, this is where we make our decision. You can either have your hands remain on your hips. Some of us are gonna slide our hands down our legs towards maybe the shin or the floor, if the floor is available. If you have a block, you can take the block and place it to the inside of your right leg. This can give you that little bit of a lift. I want you to feel like that right hamstring is pressing back and that weight of your hips gets pulled towards the back of the room. Just like in our downward facing dog, we feel that slingshot energy pulling backwards. Good. And now see if you can bow your head down towards your leg, folding forward, and maybe blowing a kiss on your right shin. Good. This one is called pyramid pose. This is just the top half, or the bottom half of the position. The top half of the position is going to look very similar to that arm position that we did in our standing forward fold with the fingers interlaced behind our back. But we'll do that in future classes. We'll just work on the leg portion for today. Good. Another full breath here. All right, now bend your right knee. We're going to come back into our warrior one. Shin goes forward, arms lift up, lengthening up through the spine. The belly pulls up and in. Exhale, hands to your hips. Inhale, straighten out your right leg, firming the leg straight from the hamstring. Exhale, tip the weight forward and down to your pyramid pose. Hands can come down if you choose. Inhale, bend your right knee, sweep the arms up, warrior one. Exhale, hands come to your hips. Inhale, straighten out the right leg, squeezing from the hamstring. Lift up. Exhale, hinge forward, pyramid. Good. Inhale, bend the knee, reach it up, warrior one. And then exhale, the hands come down to the floor, framing the foot. Step back, downward facing dog. Now take notice of the difference between your right and your left leg. You might notice that that left heel is all the way down to the ground or closer to the ground than your right heel. Maybe your right hamstring feels like it's more open or it's still tingling. Good. We'll balance it out. Inhale, take the left leg up to the sky, down dog splits, reaching it up tall. Exhale, left foot steps forward, all the way, top edge of the mat. Take a peek at your right toes. Hop the right toes slightly forward, about 3 inches or so. To the right, about 2 inches or so. And then spin the heel down so the toes are facing the 2 o'clock position. Bend your left knee, hips are facing forward. Inhale, lift yourself up, warrior one. Keep your pelvis spinning forward, pressing the right shin back until that hip flexor keeps opening up. Good. Full breath here in warrior one, drawing navel to spine, and then lifting up through the fingertips. See if you can energetically lift your rib cage off of your pelvis. So it pulls up. Exhale your hands onto your hips. Straighten out your left leg, squeezing from the hamstring. Hug those inner thighs together. Good, and then exhale, tip forward, coming through that flat back position. Good, and then maybe sliding the hands down, maybe grabbing a hold of your block or placing your hands all the way to the ground. The tendency here is for the hips to turn towards the right. I want you to spin. Right hip forward towards your left toes. Good. It should feel like that left hip gets kind of pulled back a little bit, and there should be a big stretch in that left hamstring. Flip the tail up like you got that perky tail, and then you're gonna feel that extra zing. Good. All right, let's flow through it. Bend your left knee. Inhale, the arms come up. Warrior one. Exhale, hands to your hips. Inhale, straighten out your left leg, squeeze those inner thighs. Exhale, hinge from the hips right into your pyramid pose. Inhale, bend the knees, sink the hips, lift up. Woo, warrior one. Exhale, hands to your hips. Inhale, straighten out the legs, squeeze from those thighs. Exhale, hinge forward, belly towards the thigh, head comes down. Inhale, bend the knees, sink the hips, lift back up, warrior one. One more time, exhale, hands to your hips. Inhale, straighten out the left leg. Exhale, hinge forward. Inhale, bend the knees, sink the hips, reach the arms up towards the sky. And exhale, hands to the floor. Inhale, step the left foot back, and then exhale, send the hips back, downward facing dog. Lower your knees to the floor and sit back, child's pose. Use the breath to slow down both your heart and your mind. Relax your jaw, relax the mouth. And rise up onto all fours. Walk your knees forward to your wrists. Cross one ankle or shin over the other, and then sit back behind your feet into a seated position. Okay, so before we move forward, do we have any questions at all about warrior one or pyramid pose as we were working on those today?
For pyramid pose, is it okay for the front leg to be slightly bent, or does it have to be nice?
Of course, yeah. Especially if you feel like a lot of pull in that front hamstring, in that front leg hamstring. It's okay to keep the bend, but I want you to know the difference between having a bend in that knee and that weight being forward on that foot, and having a bend in that knee and having the weight being pulled back. Feel almost as if your hips are still pulling you back, so that you're moving towards that straighter leg. Okay?
Thank you.
Of course. Anybody else? No? Okay. We're going to continue on then. So if you do, go ahead and post in the chat. Let's go ahead and face towards the short end of your mat. I want you to extend both legs out in front of you for our seated forward fold. Turn the toes up towards the sky. Again, you always have the option of bending your knees in this position or using your strap. Okay. Inhale, bring the arms up towards the sky, lifting up nice and tall. Keep that leg as you exhale, tip forward with that flat back. And then once the belly comes to the thigh, bend and round all the way down. Grab onto what you can. Maybe it's the ankles or calves. Regardless of what you're holding onto, I want you to actively work the feet. So Savannah, pull your toes back towards you, your heels press away. I know, yeah, the whole foot. So as if your foot were pressing up against the wall. Yep, I know. Bend your knees a little bit, that might help. Good. Savannah, see if you can bend your knees a little bit more. And then lengthen through your low back up, inching your belly button up towards the sky. And then start to lean forward a little bit more with that bent knee. There we go, yes. Those runner hamstrings. Good. Another full breath here. And then inhale, reach your arms forward, lift yourself all the way up. Exhale, release your arms down by your side. Slide your hips forward towards the front edge of your mat. Plant your feet on the ground as if you've got little cement boots. Okay, hands are going to go to the back of your thighs. I want you to round your spine like a cat, leaning back until your elbows go straight. Keep your feet heavy. Good. Release your hands. Keep your body there, and you're going to lower it down about an inch. Another inch. Another inch. And then all the way down to the ground. Good. Take your right knee into your chest. Send your left leg forward, reaching out through that heel. Coming into your wind releasing pose. And then take the knee across the body into the twist. All the way over to the left, and the right arm goes wide to the right. Maybe the toes hook on the outside or the back of your left knee. And then inhale back through center. Exhale, left knee tucks in. Inhale, right leg goes forward. Squeeze that left knee in a little bit more as you press out through the right heel, opening up into your wind releasing pose on this side. And then exhale, take the knee across the body into the twist. Knee goes to the right as your left arm goes wide and across. And sometimes it feels nice to use that right hand. You'll use the heel of the hand and wedge it into that left hip crease. And it's just along the top of that left thigh. I want you to push the thigh away from you. It should feel pretty nice. Into the low back and hips. Come back in through center. Exhale, both knees tuck into your body. Rock side to side. Come back to stillness and extend the legs out in front of you. And coming into our final resting pose, corpse pose. If corpse is not appropriate for you or your low back, you can always bend your knees. And if you feel like sprawling out a little bit more, you can come into a wide X. So the arms might travel up and overhead, out into this big diagonal stretch on each side. And then even doing the same thing with your legs. Good. So choose whatever position feels best for you right now. Close your eyes or place a towel across your eyes. Relax your mouth and jaw. Create a little space between top and bottom teeth. Help the jaw relax. Which will help the mind relax. And as the mind begins to relax, you start to notice that the rest of your body will follow. every time we show up on the mat. And we treat our experience like an experiment. I'm trying to recognize if this pose or that breathing technique will put us in a place that we feel more at ease, or perhaps like that better version of ourselves, where we're not overreactive, we're not berating ourselves for not being as flexible or strong. We learn to be where we are with ease. We learn to be more responsive and not reactive. And from where you are, take a full breath in. Open up your mouth and exhale with a sigh. Good. Another full breath in. And exhale with a bigger sigh. Inhale, bring the arms up and overhead. Reach long throughout the entire body. Stretch. Exhale as you bring your arms around your legs as they tuck in tight to your body. Rock side to side and carefully tip over to your right or left side, your choice for today. Letting your head rest on your arm for a moment, and then pressing your top hand into the floor, extend through your top leg, ease your way up to a comfortable seat. And feel free to unmute yourself for the closing of our practice. Otherwise, bringing your hands together at your heart center. Bow your head softly forward. The light within me bows to the light within you. Namaste.